Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. I am a late Solid Blue sister, and this is my turn to talk. Welcome, Greg. You are number one. Brina, you are number two. And Scooter, you're number three. Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to stream across a couple of platforms and trying to get it all to come together. Drives me crazy sometimes, but thank you for waiting. Hey, Frankie. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. I was a bridesmaid once and said I'd never do it again. Hey, Juju. Yeah, Breen, I'm gonna have to do a show on being in weddings. Oh my goodness. Almost 30 years later, and I still remember that wedding as if it were yesterday. Okay, you said I was a bridesmaid once. It was fun, but a lot of work. Mine was not fun. I take that back. I take that back. I was a bridesmaid twice. After the first time, I said that I would never do it again. The second time was for my best friend, and we, after the wedding, we were no longer best friends. So I'm what they call a bridezilla. Scooter, we're gonna have to talk about that. We're gonna have to delve deep into that. All right, guys. So today I want to talk about I want to talk about um, baby boomers, millennials, and Gen Z's. That's what I would like to talk about today. And I would like to know, are generations really far apart on various issues? And what can we learn from each other to make the world a better place? Welcome, American icon. Welcome. So, when you look at baby boomers, which were born between 1946 and 1964, so they are between like 56, 57 to about 75 years old. Gen X, 1965 through 1980. They're around 41 to 55, 56 years old. Gen Y or millennials, 1981 to 1996. And we have Gen Z between 1997 and 2012. They are between 9 and 24 years old, and there are nearly 68 million Gen Zs in the United States. However, what's interesting, baby boomers account for 71 million in the US, and Gen X, born between 1965 and 1980, account for 65 million, and millennials, 72 million. So, baby boomers, even though they're getting up in age, still account for a generous amount of people uh, in the U.S. So, my question is, because I know when in 2016, and I am a liberal, you guys, which I'm sure you all know. Welcome, Lou Rock. There was a lot of tweeting going on back then between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. And a Bernie Sanders person said, which I thought was really kind of ironic and funny, considering that Bernie would get a lot of the older crowd. Um, uh, there were a lot of millennials who were voting for Bernie Sanders, and one millennial said in a tweet, and I took a screenshot of it. They said, I guess we'll have to wait for all the baby boomers to die off before we can get someone voted in. And considering that the person that they were voting for and supporting was a baby boomer, I thought it was, ironic that they would say that. So, there's been a lot of hate, in my opinion. And when I say hate, I guess I shouldn't say that. A lot of trash talk towards baby boomers from millennials, from Gen X's, and Gen Z's. So I want you guys to tell me. I mean, do you think that I'm wrong? And Scooter says baby boomers on the world. Baby boomers are messing up. Baby boomers on messing. I'm assuming, Juju, you're saying are messing up right now. I do believe that some baby boomers are, but not all. Um, Lou Rock says the only Democrat I actually liked was Obama. He was smarter than all these twits. Well, I guess I'm a twit then. Oh boy, 'cause again, I'm not going to go into the political thing. I'm not going to have any trash talk. I had someone on here back in September who was trash talking Trump. I do not like Trump, but I bumped him off the show. My show, I'm not trying to trash talk anyone. And like I said, if you want to say twit, there's twits on both sides. So just know I'm not here to trash talk. So on either side. So I have said it once, I will not repeat it. So 2022, you're going to see a lot of Black women taking over. I don't like Trump either. He is okay. Again, Lou Rock, if you don't like him, that's fine. But I'm not here to call any names on either side, left, right, middle, whatever. So, do you guys think that one generation is going to outperform the other? And when I say outperform, I don't mean in terms of numbers or anything like that. I mean, do you think that one generation will sooner or later get it together? And although baby boomers are getting older, they're still around. They still account for a lot of things, in terms of voting. Baby boomers vote more than other generations. They say that I'm sorry, I get these generations mixed up. That the millennials, no, I'm sorry, that the Gen Zs will probably vote more um, uh, than the millennials. So, what do you all think? I mean, are we really that far apart that we don't, are we really that far apart on issue? Is it an issue thing or is it an age thing? Now, I know growing up, we told our parents, "Oh, you don't know, you're old," whatever. But is it like that? Is it like that? Is it again, is it an age thing or is it an issue thing? Why do the generations seem so far apart, especially now? It seems like, every generation just has their idea on what they want and how it should be. You have your Gen Zs and your millennials who are really into making sure that the environment, the air, the water, whatever. What do you all think? Okay, let's see. Okay, I will control myself. Yeah, please. Yay, yes, we are. Okay, it's an environmental difference. So you think that, okay, Scooter, so you think that the biggest divide in the generations are the environment? So you think that the younger generation cares more about the environment than the older generation does? And Brina says we can definitely learn a lot from each other in terms of different generations. Americans are quick to institutionalize the elderly, whereas other cultures bring elders to their homes. You are absolutely right. Maybe I'm off topic, but younger kids can learn a lot from grandma and great grandma, grandfather. Yes, Brina, you are absolutely right. We can learn a lot from the older generation. I mean, I know I used to ask my grandmother and grandfather a lot of questions. My grandmother and grandfather on my father's side. My maternal grandmother died when my mother was born, and my uh, maternal grandfather died when I was like 9. But in terms of my father's parents, I would ask them all kinds of questions, and I would ask them all kinds of questions mainly because they were from the South, and I was tracing roots and all that other stuff, and I wanted to know what certain things were like, and thankfully I was able to know my great grandmother on my maternal side. But you're absolutely right, because you learn a lot from the people who come before you. Welcome Ziller, and welcome Alpha Mike. Lurak says these new generations don't want to work, they live off social platforms. I disagree with that. You have a lot of younger people who are working their butts off. They're working their butts off, and they're changing things. So that may be true for some, but not for all. Juju says baby boomers, strong work ethic. Baby boomers aren't afraid to put in a hard day's work. I agree with that to a point. Being a baby boomer myself, you know, um, we stayed on the job 40, 50 years. Retire with that gold watch, whatever. You know, Nowadays, I think I said before, we were talking about in another show that is interesting if a person stays on the job for 5 years. When you went for a job interview, you wore a suit, tie, whatever. Now people are showing up in jeans and sweatpants and whatever. But then again, the people who are interviewing them look the same way. So is it the fact that we took appearing at a job interview more serious, or is it that times are changing? Because like I said, the people who are interviewing them are also, wearing jeans and high tops, and good Lord, I just said high tops. So okay. And Scooter says, no, not environment. Okay, us older folks grew up in a different world. Yes, I would agree with that. Brina says, sadly, people look at elderly as a nuisance because they have to work. Oh, thank you, Grid. If you guys would like the show, I would appreciate it. Okay. Zilla says, I want to work. Juju agrees with me. And relaxing times. So why is it, do you think that, why do you think that younger people have the stereotype now that they don't want to work? And before you say that, let's go back to Married with Children. Okay, I don't know, that it was an 80s show. Some of you all may not remember that show. But when that show came on, you had this one particular woman who thought the show was just so, oh my God, it's not for family time, whatever, dinner hour or whatever. And of course, that just made the show more popular. But around that time, you had a lot of people who were criticizing the fact that 16-year-olds were working. Now, fast forward about 20 years, where I live is extremely conservative. And about 15 years ago, you had a woman who made sure everyone knew that she was a conservative. And those kids that would stand out on the corner on the weekends and they would wave those signs back and forth, showing like trying to direct people to where new homes were being sold or being built, whatever. Well, in my neighborhood where I live, there's only about 70,000 people, and kids would stand on the corner, and you would see them with their headphones on, they're dancing, whatever, and they're swinging that sign, whatever. But this one woman who lived who lived in our area made a big stink about it and said that those jobs should not be for anyone under the age of 18. Something can happen to them. They could get snatched off the street. So she made such a big deal about it. Went to the city council. People voted on it, and it passed. So now you see a lot of older people. Some look like they could be um, boomers. Some of them look like they could be, maybe in their 30s or late 20s, whatever. So they're now holding those signs, which is fine. But then what happened was a lot of the kids in the area said, well, we can't get jobs now because of that. A lot of other jobs or businesses in the area could not hire 16-year-old kids. So now those kids are not working. They're not working on the weekends. They're not working during the summer. They're getting their first job when they're 18. Now, when I was coming up, to get a work permit, you get a work permit when you were 14. I was working when I was 14. I put some money in my pocket. I worked like 6 weeks for the summer, learned some responsibility, and then I went back to school. So when we're so quick to say that kids don't want to work, is it that they don't want to work, or that work was taken away from them? Because there are a lot of kids who do want to work. So let's see. Let me go back. I'm missing some things here. Okay, Scooter says, okay, Brent, I'm only a partial nuisance. I know I'm late. You guys have probably already read these. Alpha Mike said, who decided to label generations like who really cares? You work, you don't, you don't. Times are changing. Yeah, it's hard for elderly to learn the technology these days. Some do, some just want to stay home living the way they know. Okay, Grit says the nanny. You'll need extra eyes on you then. Rock says, I work in the food business. Majority of managers in any department are my age or older. I rarely find anyone younger than me being a manager. Okay, but again, there are places all over the U.S. and I'm pretty sure all over the world where younger people are working. The young kids barely know how to stick a self. Most of the time, they're on their phones. Okay, my kids gave up, so I'm unsupervised. Let's see. Brina says, I worked second job in my 30s, Taco Bell. All those younger teenagers wanted to do is be on their phone. It was frustrating. Everybody wants to be a boss without putting it in the work. Okay. And Scooter says, there are a lot of jobs that are suitable for kids. And Lou Rock says, stock a show. Yeah. You are absolutely right, but I'm not going to say an entire generation doesn't want to work, because that's not right. That's not fair, and I don't know everyone. So I don't know every single person who is out there, so I can't say who is working and who is not. But in terms of issues, do you think that generations are really that far apart? Okay, kids are making more money. Alpha Mike says kids are making more money with YouTube and TikTok videos in a week than we make in 2 weeks. Okay, so let me ask this. Okay, so they are on YouTube and they are on TikTok. Number one, at least they're making money, and number two, at least they're not out, robbing someone or getting into trouble. I'd rather kids be on YouTube and TikTok than out there doing nothing or just hanging out. I mean, does anybody disagree with me? Disagree? You want to push back? Anybody? Anybody want to come up and talk? All right. Let's see, but some of those YouTubers and TikTokers are dumb. Yeah, they are, but they're also making money. Better than drugs. Yeah. A lot of the blame for kids not wanting to work goes to the parents. Grit, and you do have a point, because do you have parents out there who are just letting their kids stay home? And if you are in an area where they are hiring kids, are you saying you have to work this summer? I don't necessarily think kids should necessarily have to work if they're going to school. uh if they want to get a job on the weekend, that's fine. But I don't necessarily think that if a child is going to school and they're putting in the work at a school, then they should not have to work during the school year. But in the summer, are parents saying, you have to work, you have to pay rent? Like I said, I had to give my parents like $10 out of my paycheck, and I was oh my God, you're taking all of my money. I was, oof. And now you have some kids nowadays who have to give their parents $200 and $300, so some even more. Welcome, Grit. Welcome. You're going to come up and talk to me.
Yeah, how's it, Solid? I thought I'd break the silence.
Everything is going well, but you have a lot of background noise.
Oh, yeah. Of course, I'm traveling again. Let me slow it down a bit. Is that better?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so the reason I say that is like my wife's son, he's 14, and if he had his way, which he does most times, he will sit on his PlayStation and play games all day long, and we try and get him to like mow the lawn and try and do some stuff outside, and he'll only do it when he needs that bit of pocket money to buy his online game, or otherwise you never ever see him. He looks like a vampire. He's just so white, and he doesn't get outside.
Does he get an allowance?
Uh, Not a weekly allowance. So we make our kids, do chores around the house to get an allowance, for whatever they want.
So okay, so it's not, so if they're doing, so are these chores that they have to do on a daily basis, or how do they have to, what type, I mean, how are the chores done?
Some of them are daily, like feeding the animals, around the house, like mowing the lawns, like every second weekend type of thing. Although my 9-year-old daughter does stuff every day for her mom, helping around the house and things. But his son, he's I don't know if it's just teenager stage, but he wants to do absolutely nothing. I mean, I bought a quad bike 2 days ago for the kids to play outside, and I think he sat on it once and he's not interested. So I think he's going to have an issue having to get out there and earn a salary.
Okay, all right. Because welcome, Blunt Ninja, Jester, and Blake's and Blasky. I think that's how you pronounce it. When I was growing up, my sister and I, we got allowance once a week, and it did increase every year. It went up, but we had chores that we had to do, and we switched off the chores every other week. So one week, the whole week, I had to do dishes, clean the kitchen. Whoever was on dish duty had to take out trash. We had to empty the trash out of all the cans in the entire house. Um, Other person had to vacuum, dust, do all that stuff. And then since it was just us two girls, um, I started helping my father cut the grass, which I actually like doing, and I still cut grass now. I just like doing it. So when I started cutting the grass, my allowance went up, and even though my sister was 2.5 years older than me, I was getting more than her, and she didn't think that was fair, but I was cutting the lawn, whatever. So I do believe that children should get an allowance, but I do not believe that you ask your children if they want to do chores. I think you tell your children that they're going to do chores. If, I don't think there's anything wrong with your child, doing the dishes or emptying the trash or walking the dog, whatever it is, even washing your car. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think that if you give your child an allowance, I think it starts to show them responsibility, and also it allows them to start handling their own money. And again, I learned that the hard way. My sister would save every dime of her allowance, and I would spend mine left and right, and I was always broke. Um, and if I asked for more, my mother and father would say, "Well, you have to wait until the end of the week when you get your allowance," and I did, So let's see. Juju says started working at 16. Every paycheck gave to my parents. Okay. Lou Rock says started working at 10, didn't earn any money until I was shoveling snow and I could keep that money. All right. So does it come down to the parents? Is it the parents who need to start telling their children, you need to get a job? And even when I graduated from high school, the rule was if you're going to live in this house, you're either going to go to school or you're going to get a job, which really wasn't a choice because in our household we had to go to school, but it wasn't where you're just going to sit at home and do nothing. Ziller, welcome.
Hey.
Hey, Ziller.
Oh, I was just listening, and I was amazed by everything that you guys been talking about, because everything from walking the dog, cutting the grass, I did that for fun, not for money or at all. I didn't even know those were chores. I did it just because I wanted the damn house clean. I did it for just for doing it, and I didn't get paid. I didn't do it. I just did it because it had to be done. And the one thing I got paid for was going to the VFW and helping the Vietnam people out and getting bingo done set up. I didn't even know those things were mentioned as chores, and I didn't even know what the word chores was until just now. I'm 31 years old. I just did it.
Okay. All right. Now, Brina says, I think volunteering at a soup kitchen or an elderly home might be a good idea too. Juju says, same here, Zeller. Alpha Mike says, I say toss the kids into military school to learn discipline. Okay, but Alpha Mike, does discipline come from military school or does discipline come from home? I mean, should military school have to teach your child discipline, or does discipline start at home? Grit, did you want to answer that one, or you wanted to add something?
Yeah, so I'll say discipline needs to come from home. First of all, like with me growing up, we were four boys. My mom was very strict on us. We had to clean our rooms, do the dishes every night. Which is why I hate doing dishes now. I've got a dishwasher, but yeah, man. When I was still in school, I was working weekend jobs. I used to give my mom my all the money I made, but it's just because some situations we were in sometimes. But yeah, when I finished school, I walked straight into a job, and I've been working ever since. And I think it's the way you're brought up. That it helps you to become responsible. I think if you, as a parent, leave your kids to do whatever they want and not give them any responsibilities or chores or duties to do, they're going to struggle in life.
I agree with you. Juju says, I'm sorry, Lurock says, don't forget the dishes. Juju says, no, it doesn't come from military school, and that's expensive. Alpha Mike, school kids today get away with too much shit at home. Lurock says, discipline starts at home, definitely. And Juju, I have a dishwasher. I still love doing dishes. Keeps my nails looking great. And Alpha Mike says, take out the belt and whip them into shape. Okay. And welcome, GP man. Okay. So do you think that because some people, and I would say baby boomers more so, I could be wrong. So if you guys want to push back on me, that's fine. That baby boomers more so than millennials and Gen Zs grew up with the belt, that we were spanked, whipped, however you want to say it. We had more corporal punishment than millennials and Gen Zs. And do you think that could be a factor in why the generations are far apart or apart when it comes to certain issues? Juju says, I have a dishwasher. Okay, I read that already. Sorry. Yes, that damn belt extension cord hurt even more. Definitely. Okay, so is there anyone here on the panel who does not believe in spanking children? Greg, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I do believe in spanking. I mean, we grew up. My mom had one of these very thin little red leather belts, and we called it the blood belt because when she brought that out, we had bloodline marks on our backsides from getting a good walloping for doing something wrong. So we knew, where the line was and what we could not do. Today's kids, you can't look at them with an awkward eye and they start bawling their eyes out.
Okay. All right. Ziller?
Yes. Here's the thing. I have, like you guys know, I have seizures and I had anger issues because of my medicine was mixed up. So I would do something by accident because my medicine was mixed up. Well, here's one thing. I got the bill and my medicine was mixed up. We didn't know about it. And, well, here's the thing. I grabbed the belt before it even came around. And then I started beating the hell out of my dad because he did it. And, well, that didn't go over so well. I went to juvenile, and that was not the very goodest thing at all. That was the end of the belt completely. But they found out that my medicine was the cause of that.
Okay.
So there was no belt after that.
Okay.
Just talking to me ended that. I mean, just sitting down at the table.
Okay.
Being civilized, of course.
Now, Lurock says, I never hit my kids. It's too easy to punish kids now. Just shut the internet off. Rena says, my son got a pow a few times, but I don't really like that. And Juju says, my parents had a leather strap. It was called 9 Legs. I never did anything bad. I was a good kid. Okay. And Brina says, oh no, don't grab the belt ever. Brina, never. That's a death wish where I come from. I did it once. Okay, so welcome, shy lady. My mom had this back then. I just think of all the stuff that we used to call things back then. I don't know if you all remember the term hip hugger pants, and there were these hip hugger belts, and my mother had this leather hip hugger belt that was on the back of her door. Now my father would never spank us, but my mother would. And my mother would get that belt, and my sister and I, we were gone. But then my sister, my mother would say, don't you move, and my sister wouldn't move. Me, I am like running. I'm like, you gonna hit me? You're gonna have to chase me, whatever. But I do believe that again, sometimes you got to tap that bottom. I'm not saying you got to beat them, but again, I've said it before. There's nothing wrong with tapping that bottom. So again, I go back to the generations. Do you think that baby boomers were spanked more than other generations. Grit says, when I got a spanking, I never used to cry, so I used to get more hidings than my brothers, so I had to fake cry. Okay, so glad I'm kid free. Okay, and Juju says, GP man, the nuns had a wooden paddle. I never went back to catechism after I saw them hit a couple of kids. And Lurak says, yes, definitely that's changed once kids started charging their parents. And that's true, because I think it was the millennials who, when they were younger, started, making it where if you hit your child, you're, the parents are picked up. They're the ones that are put in jail. Why did you hit your kid? And meanwhile, people are raising a generation of fuck you kids. You tell your kid to do something, you're like, well, fuck you. In my day, if you said, talk back to your parents, you may have done it once. You won't do it again. If you do it, it's up under your breath where they don't hear it. But now kids are cursing their parents out, but yet, children have the right to turn their parents in. I mean, are there some bad parents who beat their kids? Yes. But again, like I said, spanking your child, I don't see anything wrong with that. So again, I'm asking again. So do you think that because discipline was different is another reason why the generations are apart in terms of certain things? GB Man said in schooling, we would get swats with the wooden paddle. F1, when I got a spanking, I used to cry, so you had to fake cry. Okay. The nuns had a wooden paddle. I never went back to, okay, I read that. I'm sorry. Brina's just laughing. Juju's laughing. Okay. My kids would never curse at me, but you have a lot of kids, Lou Rock, that are cursing their parents. And Grit says, we were scared to even back chat our mom. Okay. To me, it wasn't so much my mom, mostly my pops. And Brina says, kids got soft when we put cushion under the jungle gym to break their fall. When we played, we had concrete or wood chips under us. If you fall, you walked away bleeding or with a bad sweater. Alpha Mike says, if a kid did something wrong, then explain it to them why it's wrong. If they do it a second time, then that's their ass. I mean, yeah, I do believe that you need to explain to them that it's wrong, but some kids know. I mean, some kids know that what they're doing is wrong. Okay, so you don't need to explain anything because they know damn well what they get wrong. Okay, Lurak says those kids need a good lip check. And okay. So, I mean, do you guys think that corporal punishment, and that even sounds harsh to even say it, but do you think that it's wrong to hit your children? Anybody?
Well, Solid, I don't think it's wrong. I mean, like you said, there's a difference between, abusing them and giving them a hiding, when they deserve it. I don't think it's wrong at all.
Okay, I don't think it's wrong either. So let me ask you, Grid. So in South Africa and in New Zealand, if you are hitting your child or spanking your child, can someone call it in for abuse?
Yes, in New Zealand, they teach the kids at school. Your parents are not allowed to smack you. In South Africa, it's the same thing. There's no corporal punishment anymore. But you ask any South African, if like they would say to you, no one's going to tell me I can't smack my child when they're naughty, and they still say it today. Even the ones here in New Zealand, you know, when we speak about this topic, they all say, you know, if they tell their kid, if you want to run and tell your school or whoever, you know, that I'm smacking you, then you can go live with that family, or you can go let the government take you away and they'll find you a new family. It's fine by me. So, you know, that's the attitude. You know, although I believe in disciplining, you know, my kids, I got to say I've never had to smack any of my kids for a very, very long time. They're just, you know, well behaved, and they're brought up with manners and respect.
Okay. All right. Brina says, yeah, now that I'm a mom, I feel like it's wrong. And Lurock says, I didn't want to show them the same things I grew up with. And Juju says, I punished my kid by sending him over to his cousin's house a half block away. So he hated it because they had roaches. Okay. I didn't allow him to take an overnight bag or anything, just his toothbrush in his pocket. So that was his punishment. All right. Shy Lady's laughing at that. Lou Rock, I remember that I bought you into this world. I can take you out phrase. Yep. Yeah. You know, I don't think today's generation is all bad. And I think a lot of it has to do with the parents. I think that we can't expect school to take care of our children because that's not their responsibility. Their responsibility is to teach your child, and that's it. They're not supposed to make sure that your child speaks to an adult with respect. Yes, they can teach them manners and things like that. There's things that my son had a wonderful kindergarten teacher, and to this day he is still doing things that woman taught him that I just always just smile. But it's not a teacher's job, or to me the military's job, this is just my opinion, to teach your child how to behave. They should know how to behave when you first take them out of the house. If they're that toddler running up and down the market, aisle and bumping into other people, whatever, and people are getting pissed off, and then you're turning around cursing out the person who's pissed off because your kid bumped into them, then I'm sorry. I think you're wrong. Your kids, in my opinion, when they go out, they need to stay by you. They need to know how to behave. That comes from home. That doesn't come from military school. That doesn't come from the teacher. That comes from you. So yeah, today's kids, they may not want to work. They may mouth off. Call their mother a bitch or whatever, or say fuck you, whatever. But whose fault is that? And I may be saying some things to some people right now that you all may not like it. I don't know. But I do know that, in my opinion, a lot of children want structure, and they do want discipline. Again, I'm not saying you got to beat your kid, but our kids are the future. I mean, we've heard that for how long when we were little. You're going to be the future. You're going to be the future. So how are your kids going to be? What is the next generation going to be like when you're gone? After the when the Gen what is it, the Gen X's, no, I'm sorry, the Gen Z's, between 1997 and 2012, 68 million in the US between the ages of 9 and 24 years old. How are they going to be when they're 70, 80? And you have another generation that is coming up. Okay, they have a Generation A, starting with kids that were born in 2012, saying that will go through at least 2000, 25. So what is Generation A going to be like 50 years from now? What is this world going to be like? So again, I come back and I ask my original question. Can we learn from each other? Can baby boomers learn from Gen Zs? Can millennials learn from Generation A? Do baby boomers still have something to offer while everyone's ready to write them off and call them old? Is it something to the fact, like Brina said, in the US, you very rarely see, well, I shouldn't say that, because yes, you do have people you do have multi-generational homes, but a lot of those multi-generational homes are in other countries. Is there something to the fact that in China, that when, you get married, you take your parents into your home? In India, the same way. I mean, is there something to that? I mean, is it just the fact that you're taking care of your elderly, or is it also a respect thing? So, do those countries respect their elderly more than Americans do? I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm just throwing that out there. So, anybody? Blunt Ninja says, I agree. Parents forget they need to parent, not to be the child's friend. And Blunt Ninja, that's one thing that I absolutely agree with. You can be your child's friend when they get older, when they're an adult, but when they're a child, you're the parent. You are the parent. So, but that's me. Grit.
Sorry, I'm just trying to reduce the noise here. Yeah, so like with us South Africans, it's I think out of respect, we take in our parents, when they get too old to stay on their own. I don't know if it's for everybody, but what my family and what I've experienced, we've taken in our elderly when they're too old to take care of themselves. But then some people also just, put them in a home because they don't want that responsibility. But yeah, I would take my parents in, once they got too old.
Okay. All right. Well, I threatened my son. I told him he better not put me in a home, But I know that my son never would. Now my husband, I don't know. He may put me in a home, but you know, I don't know. Jester says Gen Z is screwed. Oh, let's see. Shy lady, you want to come up? Jester, why do you say Gen Z is screwed? Let's see. Brina says, I love the idea of multi-generational households. I think it'd be beneficial to a child's upbringing. And Shy lady says, I think they do respect them more in other cultures. And Brina and Juju are just laughing. Okay, Shy lady, welcome. Welcome.
Hey, I do want to say that I think the culture, I think it also has something to do with how they may have generationally been raised to take care of a family member, regardless of the situation. So I don't think it's necessarily bad here that some people don't. Because I'll give you an example. I had a friend whose dad came to live with her. He was originally from the East Coast, and she moved him to Texas once her mom died. She moved him to Texas. At that time he was in his 80s. This was probably 10 years ago. He was mid 80s, so he would be in his late 90s if he was still alive. But he became he suffered from Alzheimer's, and at the time that he came to live with her, she was going through a divorce, and she had young kids, and she was working long hours, and she didn't have any help physically as far as her kids are concerned. Because they were really young at the time. I think they were like 7, 8, and 10, something like that. and she had to do all the work, dropping the kids off, making sure someone come and pick them up in the morning while she goes to work. She was paying for that kind of service to have them taken to school. And when she come home, first she was leaving her dad at home alone, but he would leave, or he would turn on the bathtub water, and it would flood the whole house. It was just constant stuff like that. And eventually, because he was a veteran, she put him in a veteran hospital. So she said, I can't do it anymore. She would cry, and she said, I can't do it. I can't do it. And he became physically, like when he was at home, he became physically hard to take care of. It's because he was not going to the bathroom on his own. She was doing that, turning him over, and she just couldn't do it anymore. She didn't have any help, you know, from her estranged husband or anything like that. Most of her family were in the East Coast area, and it was just really her. She was an only child. I think her parents had maybe some siblings that had older kids, so it was just her and her kids. And so, for those reasons, sometimes people can't take care of an elderly parent if it's just them by themselves. It could be a very, very hard task. But I had a family. They were, I think they were what they call it, Sikh, Sikh, Indians or something.
Mhm.
And it was like 3 generations living behind me. But if something happened to the elderly parents, you had 2 other families that had like 2 or 3 kids each that could step in and help. So I think it depends on the situation, because I think most people don't really want to put their parents in like a nursing home. I think it's at a point where they just don't have the people to help.
Okay, and you make some really good points. So let me ask this. Do you think that, and I guess I'm going back a little bit to what we were talking about yesterday, the government and who pays for what and all this other stuff. Do you think that the government or someone should subsidize a certain amount of money when you get to be a certain age, or if, like for the instance with your friend and her dad, um if you qualify, that the government can subsidize for you to put your parent or loved one into a home where they can be taken care of if you're unable to afford it.
I think that would be a good idea. And I know, like I said, he was a veteran, and she had a nurse at one time for him, but his money ran out. It was only so much money he had as a veteran, and she's like, I gotta get him. I can't use a nurse anymore, because she did have a nurse come into her home, and then the last straw was when she had to move him out of her house into I think the VA hospital or something, because she couldn't do it anymore. She would literally cry, and she actually told me that she wished he would just pass away. It was too hard for her.
So when he moved to the VA, then that was so okay, because I'm a little confused. When you said the money ran out, so the money ran out for
He had he had I think he had some kind of insurance or something, not just VA, but I think he had some other type of insurance where he only had so much money set aside for this extra care, this nurse, like a
oh
24-hour
okay,
nurse.
okay.
He only had so much, and she couldn't afford it anymore. She's like, I can't afford it anymore. I'm gonna have to just put him in a nursing home or VA hospital. I can't remember which one he went into, but it got really, really bad. I mean, she would cry, and after coming home from work, she had these young kids, and she was like trying to cook for them, and um, it was just really, really, really sad. Actually her kids were like 7 or 8, but this was a little bit later because her kids are now like 23, 24 years old. But it was just so sad. It really was. She had no help, literally no help with him. I remember one day she was crying because he had just feces all over. When she came home from work, he was just covered in it, and she cried. She just cried and cried on the phone with me. It was just so sad. She was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. So I can't do it.
So is he still living? Do you know?
Oh no, he passed away probably maybe 7 or 8 years ago. He passed away. Yeah, he's been gone for a little while.
Okay. All right.
Hmm.
So, okay. So, I'm going to bring up Hollywood here in a minute. Well, I'm going to bring it up now. Um, for for the Screen Actors Guild, and I used to work in the industry. When Hollywood, they set up this fund. This was back in, like, I do believe it started in like the late 50s, early 60s, where you had these Hollywood greats who would, they would die, and some of them didn't have any money or whatever. And welcome Dina Joe. And what they did was they set up uh, a home where, if you cannot afford, care or anything, you go to this home. And it's a home that's been, working or up and running for people who were in the business. No matter if you had a SAG card, you were able to go. So you could either be someone on the level of Meryl Streep, or you could have been that bit actor who only had three roles and it was a small part. You're still able, to go to this home, and they pay for it 100%. Anything that you need, if you have surgeries, whatever, everything is covered 100%. And I think that's pretty good. So when I was asking Shy Lady, or just asking you guys, do you think that the government or whatever, do you think that if you are a postal worker and you're retired, or you get sick, and you get cancer or whatever, and your family can't afford to do this, should every and I know we're getting off topic here, should every uh job or whatever, industry, whatever, have a place, like, I think it's called in Hollywood, I think it's called Woodland Hills. And usually, if you hear that someone passed away and they passed away in Woodland Hills, more than likely they were at this home, whatever. But do you think that postal workers, or if you're at, in the auto, work for Ford, GM, whatever, do you think that every industry should have something like that takes care of their own 100%?
Solid, if I can say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in New Zealand, they have a thing called ACC, and it's where if there's anything that you, like, if you have a car accident, or if you have an accident, around the house, whatever, and you aren't able to take care of yourself, they have healthcare workers that come to your house and assist you for however long you need, help with, whether it's cleaning your house, changing bandages, if you got any bandages, anything like that. That's what my wife's currently doing now. She's a healthcare worker where she'll go out and assist, and most of the time it's elderly people, that they can't shower themselves, or can't cook their food, or even go and do their grocery shopping. She does all that for them, whatever they need. So that's quite a good thing to have, and it applies to everybody in New Zealand that needs that kind of help.
So is that paid for 100%?
Yep, that's all covered by the government. Whatever you need, it's covered by ACC.
Okay. All right. So if we had, well, let me ask this, Grit. In New Zealand, what is the homeless? Do you all have a lot of homeless?
Yeah, there is quite a lot of homeless people. Probably more in certain areas than others. Like when I was up in Auckland, you would see them in the city all over the streets. There's a lot of them there. Also in Christchurch, but like where I'm now out, I'm more in the rural area now, and there's there's not much. You don't see very many of them, but in the bigger cities, there's a lot.
And why is that?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know too much of the politics of what's going down in New Zealand.
The reason why I ask is because, here in the US, the homeless is a huge problem. And, people can blame each other's side, whatever, but I think it's more than one particular group of people, whatever. I think there's a lot of factors that account for homeless people. And I do know in the UK, there is a homeless problem. And I do believe in places like, I think Spain has a huge homeless, so I'm just wondering, why is it that the world is starting to see more homeless? And is it a generational thing? Is it, like we see more homeless now than we did, say, back in, the 60s, 70s? I mean, yes, you had them, but that back then people called them bums, which I think is unfair, whatever. But why does it seem like that the world has a homeless problem?
I can say in South Africa, there's a lot of and a lot of younger generation homeless people. Like almost at every robot, you see like a young. I would say probably in the range between 20 and 30 years old, males, females standing at the robots. I'm not sure if it's their choices in life that they maybe went onto drugs and were kicked out of the house, and ended up on the street. So I'm not too sure, but in New Zealand, there's a lot of elderly homeless people that I've seen. I'm not too sure why.
Okay. All right. Bye, shy lady. Not a problem. And once again, I'm gonna put this question out there, because Grit said that he sees younger people. Do you think that homelessness is a generational issue? Because I think there's so much that goes into being homeless than just this person who you voted for, or this person did this, or this person did that. There's so many things to me that just go into being homeless. And it is a issue that is going on around the entire world. So is it a generational thing? Why is it that we have more homeless people now than we did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Yes, we had them in the 1930s during the Depression. I mean, why? Welcome, mind your business. Mind your biz. Welcome. So, anybody? Anybody? Okay, Gigi says we have Medicaid to Medicare in the U.S. I still don't understand how Medicaid works. I don't know how that works. Anybody? Okay.
So I think mostly also because of like COVID's caused a lot of work layoffs, retrenchments, stuff like that, and people can't find another job, can also lead to homelessness.
Yeah, but we had homeless was an issue before COVID. I mean, homeless has been an issue, I mean, just consistently year after year after year after year after year after year. Back in 2007, when you had the housing boom, and people were taking out second, third, on their homes, whatever, and then they went into for closure, whatever, and people were losing their homes. So people were losing their homes before COVID. Yes, I think COVID, made it worse, but people have been losing their homes for years. This isn't anything new. So again, is it a generational thing? Is it something within the generations that we need to fix? How do you fix it? How do you fix it? You just can't say we're going to move somebody from under the freeway, then and then you find out, okay, so they just moved them from over here to over there. They're still there. So what do you do? And again, is it a generational thing? So I'm going to wrap this up, but can anybody tell me, because I'm still seeing if anyone can answer this question for me, what can we learn from each other, from the generations? What can we learn from each other to make the world better? How can generations learn from each other? Is there anything that generations can learn from each other? Anybody? Let's see. Lubac says the cost of living is definitely getting harder and harder. Dina Joe says in the last 3 years, we have seen way more homeless individuals, late 20s and 30s. I have seen the same individuals during that time age terribly because some type of abuse. So Dina Joe, are you saying some type of abuse like drugs or domestic abuse is putting more people on the street? Sorry, working out, not a problem. Yep, drugs and alcohol. Okay, all right, okay. So I really don't think I'm going to wrap it up now, but I really don't think that the generations are really that far apart. I really don't. I think that we have as generations age, I think we do need to be more respectful of the generations that are older. I think that they can teach us things, but at the same time, I think the younger generation can teach us things too. And I don't mean just technology and things like that. I think that the younger generation, they care more about the world in terms of the air we breathe, the oceans that we swim in. You catch a fish now, that fish is eating so many different things. Do you really want to eat the fish? So I think that the younger generation, I think they're more aware of the world that we're living in. And I think baby boomers took a lot for granted, but I think that we're still a very viable generation. So I'm not ready to go to the retirement home yet. Far from it. So on that note, guys, Grid, thank you so much for coming up and talking. So I wasn't talking to myself. Let's see. And if you guys please could hit the like button and follow, I would appreciate it. I am trying to get to 100,000. I want to be like Dina Joe and the old man. They're at 300,000. But you guys have a really good show. And thank you, Lurox. Thank you, and Brina. Thank you for the gift. Also, I want to say again, yes, I am going to be promoting this show on Sunday. Bahram and I on Friendly Differences, we are going to have a special guest. We're doing a transgender show. And she is willing to be extremely open. She's willing to tell everything of how she transitioned. And from when Ba and I spoke with her via video yesterday, she was very open and very forthcoming. and she is willing to answer any questions that people have. She says as long as they don't get too personal. And she did have a concern of anyone trashing her, and I told her that that would not happen. So if anyone is thinking about coming on and doing that, please do not come on the show. But Bahram and I wanted to do a transgender show, but we wanted to make sure that we had someone who was a transgender to represent that side, so we can hear both sides. And Michael Key is going to be the other guest on the show. And some of you guys may remember when Michael hosted my show, he hosted the title that he came up with, or topic, was Title IX. And it's interesting to hear what Reagan has to say, because she's against a lot of the transgender in female sports and whatever, but she just really wants to tell her story on how she came from being a male to a female, and she said that she is now 100% female. She has no other male body parts or whatever about her. So I think it will be a good show. I think it'll be a show where we can learn, and hopefully you guys will join us. So that will be on Sunday, 12 noon Pacific time. Bahram and I are trying to get this thing together on Podbean, where we can have Podbean on at the same time when we're streaming on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. So if you guys see friendly differences pop up, it's a test show, because we're trying to get the audio working where there's no echo or background noise, so we can have Podbean join in the way I'm doing it now, where I'm able to stream on YouTube and Facebook. So with that note, guys, if no one has anything else to say or any other comments, let's see. You will get there. You have a great show. Thanks, Dina Joe. I want to be like you guys, 300,000. Okay. And everyone stay up, stay blessed. Lou Rock says, when is your show? Again, it is Sunday, 12 noon Pacific time, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for sure. We're trying to get it up on Podbean. So it will be a visual show again on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Podbean, if we get it working, of course, because Podbean does not do video, it will be audio. Sunday is what? What is Sunday? Sunday is the 22nd. Thank you, Grit. Okay, so on that note, guys, enjoy the rest of your day or evening, wherever you are in the world, and go where the wind takes you. Bye. And Dina Joe, thank you so much for coming. You make me smile when I see you pop in. Grit again, thank you. And thank you to my admins and my super fans. Yay. Oh, Brina, you always have something to say. One of these days, girl, you are going to have to take the mic. Brina just likes to dance. Thank you, Power Girl Frankie, Alpha Mike, Jester, all you guys who are here. And Dina Joe, again, whenever you are ready, we are waiting for you to come on and be a guest on Friendly Differences. So whenever you are ready, please let us know. You have an open invitation. Blunt Ninja, that's who I forgot. Thank you for being here also. And for everybody on YouTube and Facebook, thank you. I appreciate you guys listening. See, now that I'm streaming on YouTube and Facebook, I actually have to get dressed. Okay, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.